Hello, this is Becca from Willow Hill Designs, and today I'm sharing my weekly stitch along with Catherine, K3N Clothtales, and today I'll be sharing weeks 17, 18, and 19. And this little piece of quilt is going to be the book that I will put all of my signatures, my weekly stitch pages and signatures into. I haven't done anything with this yet because I'm not quite sure how thick it'll get, and I don't know if I will cut this piece off or if this will wrap around or if I will need all of that extra. Again, I don't know how thick that this will get. So far I have two signatures. One is finished and another one started. So let's see. We're week 17. This one was backstory. And so this is my little backstory piece. I'll show you a close-up of that. And this is the piece of fabric that I chose to do my stitching on. And this is just a piece of home deck canvas fabric that I love. It has moose on it and beaver. And other portions, there's a bear, there's a squirrel, and lots of forest greenery on this little piece. So that's what I chose to do my stitching on. And so that comes through to the back. You can see the stitches that I used mostly green and brown with a little bit of kind of a persimmon color in there, or a peachy color, dark peach, and a little goldish orange color for a flower. And I also thought I would add the backs of some hexagons on there, because I was thinking we don't generally see the backs of a hexagon, and this is their backstory. You can see the seam allowances here for these little hexagons, and I think it's kind of interesting to see the backs of them. We generally see the fronts of hexagons, but here we see the backs. And I didn't stitch these together along the seams. I just placed them on this fabric, and then I did a running stitch around them. And I don't know if you can see the running stitches. I pretty much chose the same color thread as the fabric, just so that you could see the edges and the back of this these hexagons. So I thought that made an interesting backstory as well, and it also brought some color to this little piece. So I just wrote on that backstory. Sometimes the backstory tales are the most interesting, and that's week 17, and I did that in May of 2024. And let's see, week 17, week 18. This was the pocket. This was the woman's pocket. Women back in the 17th and 18th centuries would make pockets that were detachable to put along with their clothing, because their clothing didn't have pockets in them. And so I just chose some fabrics from my stash. I love my stash. This is some Beatrix Potter Peter Rabbit fabric here. And I just chose something to kind of go with that, and made my pocket. And this has a little buttonhole stitch on the edges to bind those edges. I just slit from here down on the pocket. And this is a binding. This is like a bias binding, because you really couldn't do a straight binding around this and make these curves. And the little patches that I used on here, we were also to do some mending. And the patches that I used here were just little snippets of fabric. I keep this little bowl next to my sewing machine, and it has little pieces of fabric that are pretty much too small to do anything else with. And I use them as leaders and enders when I'm sewing on my machine. And so I just took some of those, and I use those to do our visible mending. And this one has a green patch, and then on top of that a red one, and just a running stitch for that. And here's another little tiny patch, and that one has a sort of a whip stitch kind of around it. and then kind of imagining that there may be a hole under here in the fabric, and this is a weaving, just a weaving of threads back and forth to cover that little hole. And so that would be, I guess, different methods that they might use to mend their little pockets or even their garments. And then for this little binding here, I just did a running stitch all the way around on that. And let's see, I wrote pocket and mending. Women's tie-in pockets developed in the 17th century for carrying their possessions. Also visible mending on this week's stitching, and that's week 18. And again, this was done in May. And let me see what I put in here. Let's see, I have a little Play-Doh star. We're big fans of Play-Doh around here. One of the kids made this. So I put a little star in there, happy memories with that. And my granddaughter wrote me a little note in a little envelope that she had with a little stationery set. And she put a little cutout of Shopkins in there. She was very big into collecting Shopkins, so I got a little Shopkins picture in that envelope. And let me see what else is in here. Oh, yes, here it is. This is one of my mother's old watches. This would have been one of her everyday Timex watches, and she saved her old watches. She would put them in a box. So this was one of her little everyday watches, and I just loved it. It's so dainty and pretty, and of course it's brings back memories of her. So I thought I would put that in my pocket along with my little note envelope and our Play-Doh star, which actually, oddly enough, I didn't plan it, matches these colors that I've chosen here. So that is my second signature for this stitch along, and this is part of the first, week 19 is part of the first signature. Here's the first signature. This is all filled. And I'm sewing mine back to back. So I sew one on and then I just lift this up. And when I sew the second one on, this is out of the way and you can see these stitches here, but I'm using both sides of each page, fabric pages. And this one is kintsugi, I think it was called. And excuse me, I know that this is used for mending vases. When pottery is broken, they will use gold. The Japanese, that is, will use gold to mend their pottery. And I think sometimes the pottery is more beautiful after it's been broken and repaired. So for this, I just cut a rectangle, and then a rectangle of that of the batik, and then a rectangle of the gold fabric. And I just laid them one on top of the other. But before I did that, I just made some cuts in the batik fabric, and then I took made some clips out of this along these lines that were cut, and then just pulled the pieces apart so that there would be a separation between the pieces. And for this, I used a gold metallic thread. I don't know if you can see it sparkling, but I thought it would emulate the gold that's used, the real gold that is used in the repair of these vases. And I'm just noticing my circles. I drew them with a friction pen and I didn't iron that away. I have to do that. So the circles are still there. But so this was interesting. This was fun. And I thought I would make this, after I had this rectangle, I just kind of shaped it to look like a vase. And I thought it would be a little bit more representational and meaningful to me. I would remember what this was all about. And I just wrote here, kintsugi, week 19. Kintsugi is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery. The cracks are repaired with gold. Beauty is seen and embraced in the repaired vessel. The practice has come to represent the idea that beauty can be found in imperfection. This can be applied to the changes in one's life in one's life. And I thought that was very interesting and very true. There can be beauty in imperfection. So that was week 19. And so these will go in the book like this. They're not in order, 19, 17, and 18. And then the next one, 20, will go here. And this is what I have begun for week 20. That will go here. And again, I just went in my stash. We were given 8 things to choose. And so I chose a needle, thread, thimble, scissors, and then this piece of fabric. So 5, 6, 7, and 8, a little piece of a doily. And so these will be taken. Oh, I didn't grab my little pouch. Just 1 second while I grab that. And this will be my little pouch that they will be put in. Is there anything in here? Oh, there is a few. There's some needle cases, so I'll have to take those out for now. But this will go in here when I go. And I don't think that I will be on a desert island, I think. And I do love a mountain cabin, the thought of a mountain cabin, but I think I will be in a cabin on a bluff on the beach by the ocean. I think for me that would be absolutely beautiful. So again, I went into my fabric stash, and I love my fabric stash. I make no apologies for it because I've been collecting fabrics for years, and birthdays, holidays, Christmas, anniversaries, Mother's Day, I've gotten lots of fabrics, and I know pretty much where about 90% of everything is, so I know when I go in there what I'm looking for and pretty much where it is. So I thought this was a very pretty red and white, very dainty fabric and postcard, because I thought it would be interesting to the thought of sending a postcard to someone while we're on this secluded spot. And some little birds. This was a snippet that I bought from Etsy, and this piece of doily. And oh, and I forgot the thread. We can only, I'm guessing, since we have 8 items, I can only take 1 piece of thread. This is my little box where I keep my fancy threads, my fancy flosses. And so I actually chose this. This is from the Thread Gatherer. And let's see, what color is this? This is called a Bride's Blush. So this is mostly ivory with a little tiny bit of a blush pink in it. So I'm just going to take 1 strand of this. But the beautiful thing about that is that there are 12 strands in each of these single strands. So hopefully that's not cheating. It's 1 piece of this silk thread. So I thought that that will be fun. So that will be my 8th thing: scissors, thimble, needle, thread, and these 4 fabrics. So I will come back when I have more done on that. I'll just show you that quickly. This one looks like to be a fun one to me. I may do some interesting stitches here to kind of bridge that gap there, but it's nice we can do whatever we'd like with the thread. So thank you very much for joining me today, and I will just keep these here so that you can see them. And of course this one will go here. So thank you for joining me, and I'm wishing you many blessings, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.